All right. Welcome to Opening the Vault. This is Mason Banks.
This is Dylan Dill Pickle Hoban.
And we have a special guest with us today. Her name is...
I'm Jenae Thompson. Thank you for having me.
Thank you
I really
for...
enjoyed your vault sound effect.
Very professional, very high budget.
We try. We do what we can.
It's excellent.
So today we promised that we would talk about getting an agent and or what exactly an agent does, maybe some of the differences between SAG and equity.
We had a question from the wonderful Lexi about agents and union and equity and all that. So thank you, Lexi, for asking that great question. And here we are today, hopefully answering some of your questions. So, Mason, tell me, how do you know lovely Jenae here?
I met lovely Jenae about 4 years ago. We were involved in a production of Ragtime at a junior college down in Fullerton.
Yes.
And it was a very well done production, very high budget, I feel, because it was their centennial of the college, and it was amazing. It was the biggest African American cast I've ever worked with.
Yeah, same actually.
It was a lot of interesting energy. It was very fun.
It shocked me. I was very surprised at how well it turned out. It was really high caliber. I thought it was going to be some community theater-esque,
low budget.
Yeah, experience, some cardboard car, but it was legit, and I had a great time.
Yeah, we had prop guns, we had wagons.
I've seen some of the pictures. It
was
good.
Great. Yeah, it was great.
Yeah. So Jenae, you are a commercial agent.
Correct.
I believe. Commercial agent. So what exactly is entailed in that?
So, as a commercial agent, as a talent agent in the commercial division of my agency, basically, I'm a wrangler. I accept submissions. We mailed in submissions or emailed submissions, and I kind of zoom in on people who are looking for a career, specifically doing commercials.
Okay.
I check out their material, and if I feel like we gel and they're going to work and they'll work hard, then I set up a meeting with them and see where they want to take that, because not everybody just wants to do commercials for the rest of their life.
They want to use it as a stepping stone.
Right, as a launching pad for other things or making connections. So I'm kind of on the ground floor when it comes to a lot of people's goals for their overall arcing career.
Okay. Yeah, that's very interesting. So as a commercial agency, they're looking for people who are mainly looking or satisfied with mainly pursuing commercial work full time. Whether that's is that limited to maybe right now they're looking for that full time, and then maybe in a couple of years they'll be like, I'm gonna say goodbye, or how do you guys?
It really depends on the actor. A lot of people who are also auditioning for films and theater, you can have more than one agent. You can be a multifaceted performer. Myself, for example, I do a lot of musical theater, straight plays, but I also audition for commercials and short films, and you try to do it all so that you have that experience. If you do decide to shut all the other ones down and just go to film or whatever, you have that groundwork. You've laid that groundwork, so it's not foreign to you.
I got you.
But commercials are a quick turnaround. If you can get in, it's a good way to meet casting directors. It's a good way to make good money, especially if you've auditioned for a pretty big client, like a fast food chain or a car chain.
Target, Walmart,
Starbucks, all those
stores.
things. Yeah, if you play your cards right and audition for the right things, you have enough money set up so that you can audition for film after film after film, and even if you aren't successful, you're not worried about rent, you're not worried about stuff.
That's true. That's a great...
How has, may I ask,
No, Dylan, you may not ask me questions.
How has your career as an actress helped you to do your job? Because your job is very specific.
Yes.
It's representing other people, which is interesting.
It's weird.
And you've dealt with probably your whole career as an actress representing yourself.
Yes.
Do you think that those experiences have helped you be able to properly get your clients' jobs?
Absolutely, and I won't act like I don't use it as a selling point
Mm-hmm.
when I meet with people, but it's very true. It's actually a big part of my process, and it's a big part of my heart for what I'm doing. You know, I submit my clients first, and then once I've exhausted that resource, I start submitting myself, because I want to, you know, be in there on the ground floor with you. I'm not trying to pimp you out.
Yeah.
You know, obviously, if you succeed, I succeed. 10% of that is my success, but I'm not going to send you out there blindly. You know, I'm not going to submit you for things that you're totally wrong for, because I've had an agent before and I was sent out on stuff. I'm like, okay, sure, but I'm not blonde and 5'7". Like, what are you doing? You know, I want to make sure that my actors are comfortable, because I've been uncomfortable. I've been on that side in all aspects, film auditions, musical theater auditions, commercial auditions. I think knowing that they have a fellow actor supporting them makes them more comfortable and more trusting. And they open up to me. My actors check in with me weekly.
Yeah, because they respect that you know where they're coming from.
Yeah.
And that you've been there.
Makes you more credible that you've experienced similar things that they're probably dealing with.
Exactly. Hopefully that's the goal and that's the mindset. So yeah, it's definitely, being an actress has definitely aided me on this side of the table. It's very weird being on this side, but it's good. And
you enjoy it.
I enjoy it, yes.
If I may tangent off of that, how is the process for casting your clients? How does that work? Do you go through headshots and look at a million different resumes a day, pick from then?
Yes. We get a lot of mailed in submissions, you know, headshot, resume, but most of the time I get most of my submissions from email. I'm in charge of our general contact, so if you email the agency, I'm going to see your email. So what I look for and what people should know to send, especially via email, is a current headshot and resume. That sounds like something basic that I shouldn't have to say, but
you get people sending in headshots from 7 years ago.
Right, unless you're a vampire and you look exactly the same, which happens. I haven't changed my headshot in like 4 years. I have backup ones that are really, really recent, but I just love them, and no one said anything to me yet. That's a little colloquial and not really all that professional advice, but it's true though. It's absolutely true. I've had the same ones for a while, and that's another thing. You have to know your type. You have to know what works for you.
Yes.
And if it so happens that works for you, then utilize it until you hit a roadblock. But always have a backup. You know, it's not going to work for you forever, and you want to make sure you're representing yourself in the best way possible, which would include a current headshot. Always have that plan B.
Is that a very important aspect for your job, especially
on commercials, especially with commercials, because a lot of the times they'll book off of your headshot. They won't even ask you for a reel. It really depends on the client that they're trying to please.
The look they want,
the look they want,
gender, the everything.
Because it's not like you're auditioning for the director of the film. You're auditioning for the director of the commercial, who has a boss who has a boss's boss, and their boss's boss is KFC.
Yeah.
But their boss's boss is up their butt about this particular commercial. They're very involved. And if they don't deliver as a director of that commercial, then you just have problems. So they're expecting you to be 150% what you're representing yourself as on like any of the casting websites, and it's part of my job to make sure that that's up to par as well.
So if anything, have some good headshots in your back pocket.
Make sure you're representing yourself well. On top of that, especially because I'm doing commercials, my clients need to have updated reels. And it's different than a theater reel. If I get a lot of submissions like, oh, I want a commercial agent, but they're sending me reels that are like 3 minutes of them doing Macbeth and and anything goes, and it's not a theater reel I'm looking for. That's when it's really good, especially if you're in college and you're pursuing this, to do as many shows as you can, to get that feel, so you know what your acting style is. That's where theater really does come into play. But audition for student films, or find scenes offline and someone to read with you and record that. Get comfortable, sparring off of your scene partner, not in a theatrical sense, so that you can put a reel together, edit it together well, and submit that. Even if your reel's not all that professional, or you don't have footage from a commercial you may have done, it's better than nothing. And it gives the casting directors a vibe of like, okay, your on-camera presence, your ability to cold read, what have you. But the best way to do it is to do short films, do student films, and ask for that footage, or get paid with copy and credit. So you can edit that together and send it to an agency.
So you're looking. So what exactly would you say is an agent looking for when they see a reel? You said be able to relate to people in a film way. What separates that from the theatrical sense?
Well, theater acting is very loud. You have to reach the back of the room. Yeah, you have to be emboldened, and you have to be yourself times 50, or your character times 50, and you have to reach the back of the room. On camera, that's not the case.
Yeah.
It's actually more withdrawn.
Subtle.
It's way more subtle. And if you're like,
Micro-expressions.
"Wah!" then, you know, it throws the whole vibe off. It's completely different form of acting, which is why I say audition for short films and do little more minor scenes, as opposed to have someone record, you know, your production of Into the Woods and then from that, you know.
Right.
It's completely different.
So on the topic of theater versus film, we had some questions about equity, and that also kind of relates to SAG. And we were doing some research on this on the way up, because we're still learning about it.
The differences between equity and SAG, and do you need an agent necessarily, and like when would you get one? So I guess we could start with like
what are the two unions?
What are the
kind
two
of discuss
unions?
them.
So this is actually interesting for me because I'm still doing my homework on this. They recently changed some of their policies and procedures, SAG did, and Equity, because the conglomerates and all of the red tape and things that go into both are convoluted at this point, if you ask me, and they're complicated. And I'm still learning what the difference is for me between approaching these unions as an actor and approaching them as an agent.
Right.
Like, my agency does support SAG-AFTRA, you know, which is Screen Actors Guild, applies much more to film and screen
and radio
and commercial and radio, whereas Equity, we would think, was more
the Actors Equity Association.
Yeah.
For theater actors and stage managers.
And stage managers, exactly.
Did some research, did my homework.
Primarily that's the main difference.
Yeah. So if you're looking to go into film, you're definitely going to want to pursue the SAG-AFTRA.
You're going to get that SAG-AFTRA voucher. Milk that guy. Become part of that union.
In your experience, in order to really earn a living in this industry, do you have to do both? Do you have to diversify between theater and film and commercials? Or can you kind of specialize in one? I know professors at our school have their own opinions, and I think we have our own opinions on this.
Yeah.
But what have you experienced being here?
I think of it in relativity to, like, dance. I don't know how many listeners are dancers or can relate to that, but I've been dancing since I was like 16, so I relate a lot of things to dance. Ballet is the foundation for all forms of dance. Even if you don't intend to be a prima ballerina or what have you, it behooves you to take a couple of courses and feel it out. Align your spine, you know, get your center correct. Get the technique. That way, when you go to jazz or hip-hop or tap or whatever it is that floats your boat, whatever it is you're expecting to put food on your table, you have that foundation and nobody can take that from you. Because every single form of dance stems from ballet. I don't care what anybody says, it's the truth. I feel that same way about theater.
Sure.
So it doesn't really matter where you end up, where you see yourself in the industry, be it film or commercial or theater or what have you. It's always going to behoove you to get tight on the basics.
Yeah.
And be multifaceted. Because you may be in a movie and they may ask you what your theater experience is. You may be in a movie that's about a theater production. You don't want to go in blind. You don't want to be ignorant in any way, shape, or form. So I don't see you going wrong by being okay in all those fields.
Accepting film jobs when they come up, or if someone offers you a role in a production.
Yeah,
to take
and
it.
taking as many diverse classes as you can.
Yeah.
Definitely. I think Mason, you had a question earlier. Was it when and if the unions are necessary?
When and if the unions are necessary.
Right.
At what point do you decide to join all these unions and make that? Because it's one, expensive, and it is going to affect your career going forward. What jobs you can take and what you can't. They're going to take money from you, a percentage. And when is that decision usually made with actors and actresses?
I can only really speak for myself.
Please do.
For me, I got my agent last year, and that was just strictly for musical theater. I was like, you know what, let me try it out. This is what I know the most, and I feel like I would work. that's for me when I made the change. It wasn't a hobby anymore. I was already doing professional productions. I'd been getting paid to do this, and I figured, okay, I need somebody to watch out for me, because I don't want to just audition for any and everything. I know my worth as an artist in this field at this point. And there are just some calls that you're not going to get seen at unless you have an appointment. And sometimes you can't get an appointment unless someone is vouching for you.
Sure.
Okay.
I find that to be even more so true now on the other side of the table as a commercial agent. With commercials, they are very specific, and the more high-profile commercial auditions you're not just going to find on like Backstage.com.
Yeah.
We utilize LA Casting. That's where you find the really legit commercial auditions. And even so, like, you can submit yourself, but if you have someone vouching for you, if they know that you're a part of an agency that has been booking or that they have a really good relationship with, it's like getting a really great letter of recommendation that you can't really get anywhere else.
So the agents, there's really that ticket into the room, and then it's up to the actor to perform and
deliver.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's like, I want to say, like, I feel like a mom, like, like, oh, my baby, great, like, just like talking you up and making sure that you're well presented and well put together, and then they submit you on the basis that you're like the best thing that the client's ever going to see, and nobody can replace you. And you can't really do that for yourself. You can submit yourself, but you can't. I mean, it's really looked down upon to email a casting director as an actor and be like, hey man, I'm amazing, like, check out my mixtape. Like, you don't want to do that.
Yeah.
You want to let your agent do the talking.
Because they have the level of professionalism or the relationship with the casting director, the company that's doing whatever. And
casting directors want to know that you have that credibility. If you're just out there without an agent, not to say there's anything wrong with that. I represent myself, but like, it's just a different level of expectation, and it's a different level of competition. You might be amazing, and you might have booked it if you were represented, or if you had a sturdier resume, which you could have probably gotten if someone were doing the heavier lifting for you. Because that's one less thing that actors have to worry about. That's another thing I say to my potential clients. I'm here so you have one less thing to do. You're already hustling, you're already, hitting the pavement with regular jobs, you're already in school, you already have a family, you already have all of these things going for you, and you have the audacity to be talented and want to do everything.
Yeah.
Why not, skim some of the fat off, let somebody do that little 10% that could actually really catapult you, and you don't lose sleep over it because it's not on you.
Yeah. I like that. It takes away a little bit of the pressure, it feels like, from the hustle. You're still hustling. You still have to audition for everything and do your work, but
eliminates that kind of that part of the business aspect where you can just focus on your performance.
All you have to do is do you. That's literally it. It's when you have an agent. That's all you got to do. And doing you is what got you your agent in the first place.
Sure.
So I feel like you can kind of, don't be lazy, do the work, make sure that, you got all your stuff on lock. But know at the end of the day, when you got your agent, that's what got you there. When you get an audition, that's what got you there. You're already in the room. They already liked you. All you got to do is do you. And either way, you booked, in my mind, like you already succeeded.
Yeah.
Auditions are not really about booking. Auditions are about creating fans in the industry.
Yes.
Well put.
I have heard that. Especially, more than the casting directors, it seems like I've heard that people actually cast depending on the different amount of followers you have on social media. I've definitely heard that for like Twitter and Instagram, that like they'll literally look you up right now and be like, oh, do you have an Instagram? And they're like, oh, how many people are following?
I do that a lot with I will kind of narrow it down to top 5 submissions, maybe bi-weekly, and I'll look them up. Because I also don't want to work with a jerk.
Yeah. No one does.
It's just like, in that respect, what I do and what we do as performers is just like the corporate world. You almost said audition for a job. You apply for a job, and you have to expect that the employer is going to look up your Facebook, they're going to look up your Instagram, your whatever they can to, get the skinny on you. That's not you in a monkey suit trying to impress them.
And your interview is your audition, right? That's a great segue, though, because we were discussing before we started that you actually run your company's social media. Is that correct?
Yes.
And I had a question on that. How does that social media aspect of an actor or actress how important is that in their overall professional image? I mean, obviously, you just said you are screening all of their social media, which can tell you a lot about a person. But do you recommend actors stay updated on social media, definitely posting appropriate content, really screening what they're showing about themselves, because that is an extended representation of themselves,
right?
Essentially, right?
Yes. Yes. I think I wouldn't say that it's crucial, but a lot of people have, like their personal page or their artist page, or they'll combine the two and you won't see a whole lot of personal stuff on there. It just really depends on what your focus is. If you have that know-how, I guess, and you are hyper aware that everything you do can either book you or completely slam you, then yeah, you're going to want to, here I am at the ice cream shop, but also here's me singing 32 bars of amazing. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's a delicate balance, as it should be anyway with social media. Take, whatever field you're going into, it should be a delicate balance. Not everybody needs to know your business, but you are your business when it comes to this industry. So it's a personal choice. I'm not going to tell anybody how to live their lives. Post what you want, but you need to just understand that you're making yourself available at literally everybody's fingertips. So you can't get mad if it bites you in the butt. You just have to be smart about it.
Yeah, and you had mentioned earlier that you were saying just do you.
Yeah.
Are there things that help you just kind of do you, or is it something that's come to you over time as far as being more comfortable in presenting yourself? Because I know that's a lot of struggle that we deal with as actors is, we're coming in here, playing different characters, maybe struggling with our identity, still being in college and forming and finishing our education. Is there something that grounds you?
That's a really good question. I didn't really come into my own until probably late last year, early this year, and that it never stops growing. Like your ears. I feel like your personality and your confidence level it's just like your ears. It never stops. And it can take some hits. It's just an ongoing process. So yeah, there's tons of things that have helped me ground myself. I've been knocked down for sure. That'll do it. When you really don't have any other choice but to tap into who you are, or to tap into the fact that you need to figure that out. That'll do it. I've got my family. My family is awesome, and they're constantly growing. And it's a process. I'm not alone in that.
Yeah.
And I feel for people who don't feel like they have that, or just straight up don't. Which is another reason why I'm really excited that I'm on the other side, because while I'm not here to hold people's hands, and there's definitely, there's got to be boundaries. I'm not your best friend, I'm not your mom, I'm your agent, but I understand needing to have that support from somebody who understands what you're actually trying to accomplish. I've been very fortunate because literally everyone in my family have been in the entertainment industry some way, shape, or form since before I was born. So, when I wanted to drop my business major and I wanted to tour, my family were like, cool, make sure you stay on top of your stuff, do what you gotta do to pay your bills, but follow your dreams, because they get it. They spend a lot of their time following their dreams and having professional jobs. Like, my father is a bassist and a vocalist, and he is a recently retired cop. Like, my family has done it all. So I almost don't feel right or fair answering that question because I've had it really, really easy.
Yeah. I understand you there. My parents personally have always been extremely supportive no matter what path I wanted to take and how I wanted to take it. And I took a longer path to getting my bachelor's degree. I did 5 years junior college, and most of that was just doing community theater and just working and seeing if I just wanted to try LA right away. But no matter what I chose, whether that was to go to LA right away or at least audition there or finish my degree, my family has been very supportive. And I feel you there on having that kind of unwavering support. And it's very nice, and not everybody has that, but it's good to know that at least there's one agent out there who's a little trying to emulate that,
Yeah. I got you. But that's essentially the biggest thing that keeps me more secure in who I am, and then also just failing hard, epically, in all manner of the word and in life. That'll push you that way you know what you're comfortable with and what you not to say you limit yourself, but you have more of an understanding of getting your sea legs, I guess. You just
Yeah.
gotta
It's a
fail
hard world to navigate.
Yeah.
This,
That's my big
it's
advice,
crazy.
guys. Fail epically.
and learn from it.
And unapologetically fail.
Learn from it and allow yourself to grow from those failures, because
Yeah.
so often people will fail and they'll try and justify, oh, it was because of this reason, or I was this or that day,
Yeah.
whatever.
Or project. Or
Just-
just refuse to get back up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, we've been talking about you being an agent and what exactly you do, but like, how did you become an agent?
That's a funny story.
Well,
funny
if
to
you're
me.
comfortable sharing it.
No, it's fine. You please. I probably overshare, so sorry. I worked for a company for 2 years that was an executive office space, and my boss now was a client of mine. He's a former client of mine. Yes.
Wow.
The agency has rental property there, has like a mail space at that office. So I would be on the receiving end. I was already receiving the headshots. I would just, get them, sort the mail, and he'd come and pick stuff up, and we'd start talking. And he says from day one he knew he wanted me to work for him because I'm ridiculous. I'm an absurd individual.
In a good way?
In a good way. I'm an absurd individual.
I'd say in a
And
good
I'm just
way.
like, he's like, you're so bubbly. I'm like, I'm crazy. But so that's essentially how that happened. I've known my boss for 2 years, going on 3 now, because he was a client of mine. And when I decided to leave that job, it was no longer a conflict of interest for me to work for the agency, which he had been trying to get me to do forever. And I'm like, oh, that'd be foul. I still work here. So yeah, that's essentially how that came about. It was just kind of crazy. It all kind of fell into place, and I did not expect that at all.
Right place, right time.
Yeah, it got to the point where he would be like, which one do you like? He would hold up headshots. I'd be like, that guy looks like he spent some money. Try him out.
Nice.
What's on his resume? So I was already working for the company. I didn't even know it.
So it was a seamless transition, it
Yeah.
sounds like. Excellent.
Well, then, so that was kind of the questions we had about agency. Well, most of mine. Do you have any more of yours?
We talked about the unions a little bit. I hope we provided some clarification on that.
I think we could go a little bit more into unions. Maybe just like maybe all kind of share what we know so far. So we know Actors Equity is the union for theater and stage managers.
Right. They have 50,000 members.
They have 50,000 members, and they represent any theatrical live performance and anybody working and getting paid for that. And we were talking on the drive up here about how you get into the union. And as far as I know, you have to get points, correct? You have to get points.
For
And
equity. This is for equity.
For
This is for
equity.
Actors Equity, not SAG. So for Actors Equity, you have to get points, and you do that by being cast in a union and non-union show, correct? Is there more than one way? Am I missing?
That's how I got my points. And they shortened it. Like I said, the rules
They
change
changed,
so
they
often,
changed.
and it's interesting. But back in my day, it took 50 EMC points, equity membership candidacy points, to be eligible to join the union. So yeah, and you can get that. That's the other thing. That's just why some people really get an agent, especially if you're doing theater, and especially if you're EMC or out here trying to be equity, because it's not that hard. It's not hard to be. It's not as difficult to become an equity member as it is to maintain that status.
You have
So
to
you
constantly
need to
be
know what you're
working.
doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Booking shows on
For example,
productions.
I worked at Sierra Repertory Theater upstate. I was there for 6 months. I did Hairspray and The Full Monty back to back. Just from those 2 productions, I was more than halfway to getting my equity card.
Oh, wow.
And those were my first professional productions, straight out of college. That's what I'm saying. You work with the right people, pursue the right contracts, and you'll have all the points you need like that in a year. Does that 1 year constitute or represent your level of education or caliber of talent? No, not necessarily. Not all the time. You take that same experience with your brand new equity card and go to New York, you might have problems.
Yeah.
Because think about it. How many men of his exact stature, age, and probably ridiculously more talented stood in line, even had appointments for How to Succeed in Business Without Trying on Broadway. Who booked it? Harry Potter. You're in the same room as Daniel Radcliffe, no matter what you've done. But you got your equity card, you're getting seen. Those are things you have to keep in mind. even with commercials, even with SAG. You know, it's not a joke. It can be a double-edged sword unless you have that education and you have that background and you have somebody looking out for you.
So it seems like the education is the backbone no matter what place you are at. And then until you find a way to build up a profile for yourself, and or until your profile just becomes too big through the work you've done and the agents and the contacts you've made, then you become, it's like you're not always sent to the cattle call for the auditions. You get
an actual appointment.
You get an actual
You
appointment.
get seen. You don't waste hours. That's where having an agent for me really came into play, because I was working a 9 to 5. I couldn't just stand in line for hours and expect to have my job still. You know?
Yeah.
I get an appointment for 11 o'clock, take my lunch break, boom, boom, in and out, back at work. Without even having to say anything. That's a benefit of having an agent.
That's true. It's very true.
Question on these points. So who does the union decide which shows equate to how many points, or is that a standard throughout the industry?
It's, from my experience, it's the theater. It's the kind of contracts that the theaters can house. Like if there's a 99-seater, say like the Secret Rose or something in LA, you're not going to get points for that.
Okay. So it's the caliber of the show that you're involved in.
It's the caliber of the contract. What the actual theater can afford to do versus what they want to do sometimes. And sometimes theaters will only cast certain roles with equity members because they have a specific quota that they have to reach for their contracts. They have a deal.
Okay.
So now, jumping into SAG, what are the requirements for joining that? I know there's a hefty fee, there's dues, there's...
From my understanding, again, I'm more murky on SAG because most of my personal experience is with Equity as a theatrical actress.
Okay.
My commercial experience is completely on the business side, mostly. I have booked commercials. I am pursuing that as well, and I have been in commercials. But again, it's a different ball game for me. I'm not going to even lie to you. Like I said earlier on, I've been researching it and trying to do more homework on that because I know like my actors are going to have questions, especially if that's where they want to do. But I haven't run into that yet because, like I said, a lot of commercial acting, especially if you're non-union now, is a segue to something else. So I'm helping people get out of limbo, essentially.
And is there enough non-union commercial work for your actors to maintain that?
Absolutely. But from what I understand of SAG-AFTRA, it's kind of the same with EMC. And listeners, if I'm incorrect, call me. I'll give you my cell phone number. We'll talk.
Comment below.
Literally, call. I will seriously give you my number. I'm an open individual, but don't be crazy, because I'll hang up and block you. But what I understand is it's kind of like a takes money to make money situation. You know, like I talk about my family a lot. Sorry, not sorry. A couple weeks ago, they did a gig as extras in a movie.
Mom and Dad?
Yeah, and my sister too.
Oh, wow.
And because they were on set for a certain amount of hours and they, had a certain amount of screen time or what have you, they were given a voucher. So sometimes it really just depends on you showing up and how much work you're doing on set. But, it takes a certain amount of that caliber of production to get you SAG eligibility. I had a friend who stumbled on a set and got cast and was SAG eligible just from that.
Wow.
It depends on how ironclad that contract is and who the client is, from my understanding. Again, listeners, if I'm wrong, call me.
So in your experience, it seems to be right place, right time, who you know, who's there, who's the...
Yeah. If you're fishing for small potatoes, then do the small potatoes. But you're going to get your SAG eligibility from going for the bigger clients, which is why you need an agent.
Okay. Do you know of any agencies off the top of your head that you can think of? Yours.
Besides yours.
What is the name of your agency?
I work for Xpose Entertainment.
Xpose Entertainment.
Yeah, Xpose Entertainment Inc. We're based out of Pasadena.
And you said yourself you represent...
I'm in the commercial division.
Representing how many people? 20?
20. My roster is of 20 now. And
then how many if I'm allowed to ask, how many overall actors or actresses does your...
Are on each people's roster? That, oh my gosh.
Or overall, the whole company.
Oh my gosh, how many clients do we have? Wow, I don't even really know. I know that we represent, especially in our film department. Our film department is crazy banana sauce. Actually, I've been trying to like. Hey Norm, if you're listening, I can help.
So you have different divisions. You have the commercial,
divisions.
theater, film.
We're an
agents.
all-inclusive agency. That's the other thing. We don't just do. We're not just one avenue. I'm strictly commercial.
Oh, okay.
And there's theatrical. There's a bunch of different divisions.
Cool.
So
And different actors in each division. Or are there actors that kind of
that dabble.
go
Yeah.
have
That would be-
contracts in all 3 different industries?
Yeah. That we definitely have clients that multiple agents represent. Yeah.
Gotcha.
So it sounds
Which
like
is cool.
yeah, the big thing that at least I'm taking away is get an agent. They're
If
gonna,
you can, yeah. If
they're
you
gonna
can.
do a lot of work for you and help you out. They're just there to have your back and right.
Yeah,
Correct
but
me if I'm
again,
wrong.
but I don't see anything wrong with representing yourself for a good chunk of time. It's all a part of that building that foundation and getting your toes wet and understanding what works for you, because that's what your agent's going to ask, or they should ask. What works for you? Where do you see yourself going? Because it's their job to make that happen. So if you don't know, then you're just really giving somebody the wheel of your career, which I don't think is wise. And this is a really cutthroat. As much fun as I'm having, I've experienced other people and I've heard people's experiences. I've had my own experience with my agent. It just didn't work out, you know. And I told my clients that too. I'm like, you may love me as a person, like you can like Taco Tuesday, but you may hate me as your agent, and that's your total right to do that. You know, and you just have to be communicative with me. And
You
I'm
can't
fine
take
with
it
that.
personal.
Exactly,
It's
and I
business.
don't. And I
Good.
don't, not at all, and they shouldn't. But the point is, represent yourself until you figure out exactly what it is that you want to do or where you want to end up. And then that way, when you go into your meeting and they call you in, you already have that floor plan, and that will set you apart, honestly. Just like getting a job. You know, you come correct in your interview, they're going to know, like, you put some real thought into this, you're serious, you're going to work. And they have faith in you when you say, you know, you are who you say you are, you're going to do what you say you're going to do.
So have that idea, have your goals set out before stepping into the meeting. And what is it? So you look through the headshots, you watch the reels. How can we as actresses looking for an agent, how can we help ourselves stand out amongst the crowd? How can we get the agent's attention? Oh, I want this person.
Yeah, like, is there maybe a would you like to see a sharp contrast between maybe different styles?
Absolutely.
Comedic, maybe different genres as well.
That's what your reel is for. It's for us to see, you know, what you can do in all different, you know, genres of the art. Scare me, make me laugh.
Yeah.
Be the leading man or lady, or don't. Be weird and geeky. Like, show me what you can do.
I did have an interesting question. I had a professor recently say that you can even put special skills on the
Yes,
reel.
that's actually, you need to. You would be amazed. I see a lot of calls,
Like
casting
gymnastics, dancing,
for like,
fighting,
special skills,
stage
horseback
combat.
riding, swimming, like all this other kind
Skating.
of stuff that you can do.
Extreme
Because think
sports,
about
yeah.
it. Like, just think about, don't think too hard about it. Think about the commercials that you see on a daily basis. It's rarely anybody just standing around.
Yeah.
You know, and they're taking a lot more of a natural approach to commercials too. So I see calls for like real couples or real families that do this. You know, it's like, it seems psychotic and super specific, but it actually makes a lot of sense for the client.
Well, yeah, and realism is a big element, especially commercials. They're trying to portray this is real.
You need to be able to see yourself utilizing that product or being wherever they want you to be, which is another reason why theater acting and commercial acting are extremely different. In theater, your job is to create this whole world, this new person that's not actually you. Commercials, it's your job to sell a product, something that already exists. So you kind of want to just pretend like you're utilizing the product. Even better for you if you do.
Yeah.
My client Kayla, she's amazing. She just booked an Almond Breeze commercial, and they asked specifically for people who already use the product. And I was like, "Girl, we talked about making milkshakes and stuff. Like, I know you drink almond milk." And I submitted her right away. Those are the things that your
Perfect.
agent needs to know about you. You know. So yeah.
It seems so random, but it's so important.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
If you're using a Crest toothpaste, you're not going to get cast to do a Tom's toothpaste commercial, whatever it is.
No. It can be very specific. And that's something else that I talk to my clients about. Like, if there are things that you are just not down with, you need to let me know, because I won't submit you for it. If you hate Walmart, I won't submit you for that. If you have like political or moral things, I don't want you to be uncomfortable on set.
Sure.
You don't eat meat, you're not going to book you for Carl's Jr. Like,
Yeah.
you need to know that about your clients, and you need to be open and truthful with your agent about those types of things, because they will send you, if the description matches you in any way, shape, or form, they're probably going to send you for better or for worse. You have to be prepared for that.
So just to recap, definitely have a diverse reel, have different styles, different genres, portray yourself accurately, but highlight your talents.
Yes. Highlight your talents.
Highlight your talents.
Yes, and do you.
I think the one exception, I mean, a good reel is a good solid reel, but it can also, it also helps to know your type, just like in theater. I have a guy on my roster who's completely geeky. Like, he's a total goob, and it works for him.
Yeah.
His headshot is like him holding a saxophone, and it's just like weird. I'm like, I like you, you're strange, and you'll work, but it's very hyper-specific things I send him out for. It's not a very, like, diverse palette for him right now, which we can work on, unless he doesn't want to. If that's his thing, like, he can be Weird Al for all I care. Like, Weird Al. Like, he's had a career for how many years doing that same
like,
shtick?
At least 30.
And it never gets, I saw him last night, and it didn't get old for me. But that's what I'm saying, like, that's when it plays to know exactly what you want. If you don't want to play, one fiddle for the rest of your career, which there's nothing wrong with, then, adjust your material to match your goals. If you want to be Weird Al, but you better freaking be Weird Al, because guess what? Weird Al already exists.
Yeah.
And he's just an example. Like, I hope I'm being clear, guys.
No, that's something that Adrian, one of our professors, mentions in class all the time. He says, likely the majority of you actors and actresses aren't going to do one thing very, very well for the rest of your career. Look at Sheldon on Big Bang Theory. He's very good at being that weird, awkward character, and that's who he's going to play his whole life. Right. But as actors, it is often more beneficial to explore and diversify your characterization and try different things, try different characters.
I mean, if that's one thing that you can nail, and you nail it that well, imagine what else you can nail. Yeah. And be more, malleable and usable. It's just a matter of your perspective. Sure. It's not a limitation. I don't believe in that word. No. That's not what it is at all. It's just knowing who you are, and and believing in what you can do and proving it.
Shout out to Lexi. We were talking about her earlier. But
yeah, this is do we have anything else?
I don't know.
Anything else you want to share, like maybe like a general piece of positive advice, because I know you're very happy
to your chagrin. A general piece of positive. Wow, I don't know. I just keep circling back to that whole thing about doing you. That's extremely important, and it's difficult. I know a lot of us in this industry are hyper insecure, and just being told no and being shut down every second of every day run you down, especially early on when you're in college and you're figuring it out, you're taking classes, and you're being, you're paying to be told no. It can be a lot. And on the flip side, if you're not taking classes, if you're not in college, you're just out there doing your thing, I understand that too. It's tough. But fail hard. Sometimes you just gotta run head first into that brick wall, and then, let the visions take you. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But I'm telling you, if you don't love art, you need to leave her. Yeah. Leave her now, because she will bankrupt you, and you will never know what is going on in your relationship.
Ooh, the Hagen.
That's the real. That's the real. But if you love her, then I feel like you really can't fail. You can only just discover new things.
And hopefully the money will follow.
It will. I truly believe that.
I
will.
agree.
Maybe in little tiny spurts, but
you just got to work hard too.
Yeah, it's better than nada. That's another thing too. If you can be a little bilingual, then you're like scot-free.
It's impressive enough to be bilingual, but in this industry, knowing languages is even more beneficial, I think.
A lot of, commercials are, like I said, they're diversifying. They will film the same version of that one commercial a couple of times for different demographics and different...
Oh, really?
Yeah, there's a Hispanic market,
And will they
There's
air it in different places selectively?
Yeah, it's like international specs, specs down in Mexico. They'll ask for that. The client will specifically ask for people who can speak Spanish or can fake it well enough to be in a McDonald's commercial that's going to air in Buenos Aires or whatever.
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting.
We could talk all day about the industry and
Yeah.
where does commercial industry fall into this whole changing spectrum of political and all that fascinating stuff. But what are we at?
We are at about 45 minutes. I think this is a good place to
Oh,
wrap
wow.
it up.
I didn't even realize. Well, yeah, I guess that's my closing thing. If you don't love art, leave her, but respect her, and she will give that back to you tenfold. Be a good person, have a good heart, and be of good faith. That never runs out of style.
Mm-hmm.
It never really be depleted if it's strong enough. So, yeah, hang on to that and ask for help. There's nothing wrong with that either. And do you.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Jenae, for agreeing to be our first guest.
Yay!
It's been a pleasure.
It's been
talking
very
with
good.
you.
I've learned a lot.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks for asking me.
We might have to have you back.
Yay! Do it!
To discuss more in depth, specifically your industry and commercials and all that, because I know we could probably talk for 2 hours on that. But it's a good place to wrap up.
This has been Opening the Vault with Mason Banks.
And Dylan
No
Hogan.
creaky sound this time.
Well, we gotta close it.
Oh, sorry. Yes.
And Jenae,
Thanks,
thank you
guys.
so much.
Yeah. So.